Hey everyone, welcome to what promises to be. That's my Skype setting.
If you are able to hear your own voice, then you have configured Skype correctly.
Ooh.
If you hear this message, but not your own voice, then something is wrong with your audio recording settings. Please check your microphone and microphone settings or visit skype.com for more help. Thank you for using the Skype call testing service. Goodbye.
Okay, so you heard that, and I heard that, and I say welcome to Zenny 62 on Tuesday night, January 2nd. Wow, already it's 2018, and 2018 is moving faster than I would like personally. Slow down. Welcome to, hey, stream status is good. Hey, Barry Lee, if you tweet out, please tweet out under hashtag Raiders. Thank you. I already did the college football tweet is a little more complicated, but whatever. Hey, Octavio, how you doing? Nice to have you here. Nice to have everybody here. And folks, my good friend AP Steadham is the beat writer on the. I mean, what beat would you want to have more? What beat would you want to have more? What beat would you want to have more? As I echo, than Alabama Crimson Tide football. That's what he specializes in. That's what he covers. And so, in just a minute or so, I'm going to call him and we're going to talk. Hey, we're going to talk not just Alabama Crimson Tide football, but also Jon Gruden coaching the Raiders. He's interviewed Jon Gruden. We both know Jon Gruden. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to digest. So hang on a second. This is going to be a lot of fun. I just want to make sure I get one more tweet out there before I call AP. And make absolutely certain that this thing is getting blasted out there, both on, on social media, right? And the trick with this is you don't want to put it out too early, because if you do and you're not on live and people try to find you, well, they just might get a little upset, you know what I mean? And because they'll say, hey, it's not on yet. You just sit me here and nothing's going on? What the heck is this, Zenny? Come on. Well, they already say that, right? Anyway, right? Okay. So, yeah, that's right. AP was at the game. And if you don't believe he was at the game, take a look at this neato photo right here. Ta-da! That I put on Instagram. There he is, covering Alabama, but he's actually standing in the Clemson end zone. Maybe that's a little bit of foreshadowing, right? But we had my longtime friend, actually. We've covered the NFL draft for a long time together. And my friend and I came on to talk about this a while back. If you tuned in and remember that. That was a fun conversation. So we're going to have fun some more. Bernard, how you doing? And, one more act for King and Country before I do anything, and that is to post this on Facebook for, those who would be interested in it, and then put hashtag live stream, like that, live stream, and go to there, and voila, there we are. Ed Reed is here. Octavio is here. And thank you all very much. I appreciate everybody. Happy New Year. And before I get too far into this, let me call AP right now. Whoa. Wait a minute. The heck is this? Okay. That's done, I believe. A little Skype hiccup there, which I believe we can now rectify, correct? Call back, okay? Try that. Wow, I just did. Let's see here. Okay, it says add there. Oh, I see. It is one little technical detail, folks, which will be ironed out in one little jiffy. or as they say, 2 shakes of a lamb's tail, right? But I have to wait for the lamb's tail to come over so that it can be shook to straighten out the problem. So bear with me, please. And everybody's saying Gruden is. I didn't get that. I'm waiting for a Skype thing to open here while you make that comment. One moment, please. Skype. The trouble is, all right. Go to my account. The trouble is with Skype is they've done some adjustments with Skype. Okay. And it doesn't always add up. It's like, wow, you put the password in and it doesn't take that password and you have to reset the password. Then it opens the wrong browser page. This new version of Skype is buggy, so bear with me, folks. But it's all straighten outable and it will be straightened out. So I don't know, and again, it's not even opening properly. Okay, let me try this. Skype, it says secure. It says go to my account. Okay. Okay. And doing this. Now, as far as your comments regarding, as far as your comments regarding Gruden, I think he really needed to relax and not make so many comments to the press about who he was going to hire or what he was going to do, right? He just simply needed to sit down and then just say, okay, I'm really excited for this, position to come open if it comes open, right? And leave it at that. But he didn't do that. He had to go shooting off his mouth. That was the big problem, all right? One moment, please, while I make these adjustments in Skype, and I'll be ready in a second. Excuse me. There, okay. Almost there. That was the big problem as I see it. Sometimes the best strategy is to say little. The Belichick strategy. You ever notice how Bill Belichick gets up there? He doesn't say much, right? He doesn't say much. He just keeps it cool. You know what I mean? Copacetic. He gives you very few words to hang your story on. He'll say, well, I'm not going to deal with that right now, or he'll say words to that effect, right? And he won't just not shoot his mouth off. Belichick won't. And Gruden's kind of done that. That's the problem, all right? Hold on a second. But it's okay. It's reparable. It is reparable. And hold on a second, folks. I am trying to now deal with Skype as being weird, to say the least. But we're going to get this going. We have to. Now, as far as Gruden and the whole issue of who he hires, some of you have said, reminded me of what happened in the past, and I get that, okay? And my point is that was then and this is now. There are a lot of really great, bright coaching minds out there, to say the least. And not only that, I think more important, the ownership stake Octavio is a big deal. It really is. It is a huge deal. No question about it. And it's something that is definitely enticing. And it has been done before, right? But Okay, hold on a second. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that, folks. I've got to, like I said, Skype is being a weird customer right now, but we'll straighten it out. 719883. Sorry. Gosh. So for those of you watching this and thinking, gee, what happened? I will say this. Okay. Waiting. Oh, great. Okay, now hold on a second, folks. I have to get something. This is becoming weird. Hold on a second. So if you're watching this as video on demand, folks, my recommendation is you just sort of like go fast forward through the first 12 minutes of this. This is the 12-minute mark. Because Skype, and I've got to get a hold of whoever the CEO of Skype is. Hopefully that person will be at CES next week, and give that person, he or she, a rundown of what the problem is with this Steely. Know what I mean? Okay, so, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, hold on a second. All right, now, I believe we are all set. It says we're all set. Done. Let's, oh man, you kidding me? Hope so. Some of my info isn't correct. Let's try it again. Okay. And hold on a second, folks. I believe we are for liftoff. We are for liftoff. Wait a minute. This kind of makes you want to tear your hair out, but I don't have any hair. It's one prompt after the other with Skype. It's just, all right. Okay, so continue. Just get me through there, agree, and let's do it. Meanwhile, AP is on the air and is like screaming, but fortunately AP is not calling, which is a good thing, because he's waiting. It means he's waiting for me to call, okay? All right, thank you. Okay, and boom. Now let's see if we can go here and do this. AP? I love the sound of that. Hold on a second. I believe we are home. I love the sound of that.
Hello?
AP?
Hey, it's Zenny.
It's Zenny, and you are on the show. How you doing, man? Sorry about the delay, but I had Skype. When you use it now, it doesn't remember your password, and so you have to put in a new password, or if you try to put in the same password, it says, well, you use that one. Then it goes back and you put in another one, it says, well, you use that one. And then it's got a delay where it opens up another browser other than the one you're using. So it was all a big mess. Anyway, we got you here.
Oh, yeah, glad to be here. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Perfect.
Hey, so, folks, I want to make sure my listeners, hey, we got AP here. Can everybody hear him? Hey, Paul Venegas, how are you? Can everybody hear AP? Hey, AP, say, how was the Superdome experience yesterday?
Yeah, it was very good. It was very cold in New Orleans, in the 20s and the 30s. And it was, when I woke up today, I think it was 28 or 29. So, but we had an outstanding experience in the Big Easy.
Nice, outstanding. I like that. Outstanding experience in the Big Easy. Hey, so I want to hear. We'll talk about Jon Gruden a little bit later. Bobby Shane. How do you even know Jon Gruden? Well, I'll tell you a quick story later, but because it's a long story, but I don't want to do that one. I want to talk right now because it's all intertwined. I want to talk the game that the last time you and I were on my show said would be the possible game. Remember that?
Yes, I think so. I recall, Danny, I think I said that that's a strong possibility. I guess we spoke maybe after that Auburn had beaten Alabama, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we said that I didn't think that Ohio State would have those two games that they lost. One was significant against Iowa when they scored 55 points, and Iowa usually when they defeat somebody on the home field, it's a couple of points. They upset Michigan, Penn State by a field goal, but they put 55 on Ohio State that night, and I think that was too much to overcome in the eyes and the minds of the selection committee members.
Did you get the sense that when Alabama came out, they were on a mission?
I know that they had a chip on their shoulder. It's kind of funny that in this particular game, Clemson was rated number 1, Alabama's number 4. So Clemson, Alabama thought they were the underdogs. They had a chip on their shoulder. Clemson was the underdog in Las Vegas, so they thought they were being disrespected. So both teams came out with the disrespect line. But Alabama was motivated because they didn't play well against Auburn, and it left a bad taste in their mouth, and they wanted to change that opinion of the people across the country.
Do you think they did that?
I think they did defensively because they shut Clemson out. I mean, just to give an example, I think in 2017 in January when they played the championship, Clemson ran 99 plays. At the end of the third quarter last night, Clemson had 99 yards.
Yeah.
Humongous difference.
Was it a case of the Alabama defense coming in ready to clamp down on the short passing game of Clemson that they didn't do the year before? Or was it a case of, I mean, what was it? Because to me, I'm really more a scheme. It's not so much a matter of, well, it wasn't Deshaun Watson. But to me, the plays that worked last year didn't work this year.
Last year and the last 2 years, Hunter Renfrow, they called him the Alabama killer. He caught 7 passes 2 years ago. That was a career day for him. And then the past championship, the second one, he caught 10 passes, another career day, and he had 4 touchdowns against Alabama in 2 years, 180 yards. The 4 touchdowns, he only has about 14 or 15 in his career. He had just three this season. So they shut him out pretty much until the last quarter. I think he caught a couple insignificant passes. But you're right, they were much closely guarded. And they didn't have Mike Williams, the big receiver. They didn't have Jordan Leggett, the excellent tight end. They had some just good college football players at those positions. And Alabama, I don't think they was good defensively because they lost Marlon Humphrey at the cornerback position. And so they weren't as good as they were last year. And I told everybody I thought it would be in the 20s, 27, 24. That was my prediction. I didn't think it would be in the 30s or the 40s.
Hey,
but,
yeah.
That's something that Alabama, the defense played fabulous. The offensive line showed up because Clemson has 4 NFL players.
Yep.
Eventually on that roster that will be drafted maybe like second to first round, let's say. So credit to the offensive line. Credit to the Alabama defensive line, who at one point I think had 4 or 5 sacks to Clemson's 1. And they were the highly touted unit before the game, the Tigers defensive line. But Alabama showed up to play on both sides of the ball in the trenches, and that was really the difference. They wanted to keep the quarterback in the pocket, make him sort of tight windows, as you stated. So, I mean, that was the game plan really probably for both sides because Jalen Hurts, he has difficulty as well. You keep him in the pocket, but make him sort of tight windows.
We're here with AP Steadham, the beat writer on Alabama assignment. You know what I mean? So, AP, tell, hold on a second here. I'm just warming up some things. Bringing bringing things back into alignment. And yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah. Tell them. Tell my viewers, first of all, if you're watching this, folks, and you're watching this, if you have any questions for AP on the game last night, just type them into the chat area, and I'll ask them, and we can go from there. And also, if you want to ask questions about Gruden, you know, he knows Jon Gruden as well, ask away. But I got to ask you, all right, give me your prediction. Alabama or Georgia?
Right. Well, believe it or not, Danny, this is the perfect game for Alabama because Nick Saban's defensive teams have always been at the top of the heap, stopping the run. So if you're going to make a living out of running up that defensive line, that front seven of Alabama, it's going to be a tough road to hoe. But, you know, Georgia has three excellent running backs. The young quarterback has played well. He's a strong arm, good pocket presence, but he does not move around, let's say, like Kelly Bryant did for Clemson. But he throws, you know, he's a dangerous passer. But Alabama, I think, can stop the run and make them one-dimensional. That's the key.
Whoa.
Have an 80-yard run. You might have an 80-yard run by a Georgia running back like they did, I think it was 2 years ago, Nick Chubb. Alabama went to Athens and ran that day. He had 150 yards. So I think 80 or 85 on one play. He ended up with 50 or 60 the rest of the game.
So I got to hear this. We had Sonny Michel, who has something like 40 yards a carry average, some ungodly stat. And 4 touchdowns. Let's not forget, 4 touchdowns. And Nick Chubb. And so you believe Alabama can stop the dynamic duo of Chubb and Michel, or Michel and Chubb, whichever you prefer. Wow. I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I didn't answer it, but I'm going to say, both have 1,000 yards. Nick Chubb is 1,320, 729 for Sonny Michel. Yeah, 8 yards a carry for old Sonny. That's not too bad, right? And his running partner there is 6.4. He can make a few teams as well. And then you look at DeAndre Swift, 7.8. He has 600 yards on his own. And they both have 15 and 16 touchdowns respectively. Nick Chubb has 15, and DeAndre Swift has 3. So they are powerful. They are fast. They make yardage. You know, they run downhill.
I got one of my viewers, Donald Richardson, says, "Roll damn Tide and I hate Alabama." Laugh out loud. Which brings me to this question, because the president's press secretary, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, said today that it was a case of 2 teams in the best conference in the country, and she said no one in the room can dispute that. Now, here's the catch. She didn't even go to an SEC university, all right? And I'm thinking, you went to a Baptist school. What do you know? But the comment cannot be disputed, you know, based on the outcome. Why do you think the SEC, and why do you think it was so, well, I'll say easy for Alabama to come back against Oklahoma?
Georgia to come back.
For Alabama to come back, for Georgia to come back against, for Georgia to come back against Oklahoma. Why do you think it was so easy?
Well, because Oklahoma, they're not very good defensively. Although Bob Stoops was there so many years, I don't think that was their forte. While he was on this, you know, he was the head of this football program. Their thing was scoring points. In the entire Big 12. I mean, I remember when Alabama played Texas in the Rose Bowl, and they had the #1 defense against the run. Well, that was a dubious statistic because that night Alabama had 2 people rush for more than 100 yards, Mark Ingram and Trent Patterson. Trent Richardson, Trent Richardson, yeah, so they both had 100 yards. So when I looked over, when I was studying the game trying to analyze, I said, well, let me see the top teams in the rushing category that Texas competed against that season. And I think the highest was maybe around 60 out of the 120 plus. So I said, well, I mean, so they competed against all these teams, 70s, 80s, 90s. So they hadn't played a very good running team. So, you know, that's what I'm going to, you know, Alabama, they had very few people rush for 100 yards, 100 plus yards in Nick Saban's tenure since 2007. those numbers will be floating around here pretty soon, I'm sure, in the game. But they played against Nick Chubb. Like I said, he had 140, 130, 150 yards, but it was all in one run, 80 or 85 for a touchdown, which is fine. You might get a touchdown, but if you can keep them down to about 40, 50 the rest of the game, it'd be inconsequential. So it looks nice on the stat sheet, but it didn't help them sustain drives.
Who should we watch out for on offense for Alabama? Do you think it's Jalen? Or who do you think the star will be for the Alabama offense come January 8th?
Well, I think that Damian Harris has been very steady when they give him the ball enough times. I mean, in the Auburn game, he had 6 carries. Bo Scarborough, another running back, 6 carries. Josh Jacobs, another running back, 6 carries. Jalen had 18, the quarterback of Alabama. They need to give the ball to the 4- and 5-star running backs. It's nice that Jalen can be elusive, escape the pass rush, get out on the edge when the play breaks down. But you don't want him carrying the ball 18 to 20 times, and these 5-star running backs carrying it 3 to 6 times. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Black Lion Supreme says the Snake was his favorite quarterback, and he says Happy New Year to you as well. Black Lion Supreme, I have to tell you, you're talking to the man, one of the people that spearheaded getting the Snake into the Hall of Fame. Isn't that right, AP?
Well, I don't know, but that was my goal. I tried to do my best.
I think you did. I think you did pretty well. What?
I don't know, but I'm sure glad he's there. But to answer your question about the star, and please tell him Happy New Year as well. And Snake was, Joe Namath and Snake, those are the 2 guys I grew up pulling for, both played at Alabama, and just for certain reasons I was involved with both of them in my life to some degree, in a small way. But so they were 2 of my favorites, of course, great personalities off the field as well. But to answer your question about who might be the star, I'm thinking that maybe Calvin Ridley, if they can get him open a few times, he can break things because he has that speed and ability to take it to the house from 80 yards, 30 yards, 50 yards, and he can change things in a hurry if they're struggling. And Jalen, Alabama's offense is still not clicking. They have a lot of work to do. You saw the score. They had a defensive touchdown. Another one was a short field touchdown. Mm-hmm. So that's not a lot of points. 10 points, and 14 of them of the 24 came on the interception. One directly and one indirectly. So, I mean, Georgia, if they can cut down on the turnovers, that doesn't bode well for Alabama because they only had 10 points really. They missed field goals, and Jalen struggles to see the entire field, and he doesn't throw. He doesn't throw in rhythm.
Is that
even though he was the MVP of the game, he was MVP of the offensive MVP.
Was it the MVP because of his running capability as well? And he moves well in the pocket, Yes,
he moves extremely well, can escape the rush, and he's a power lifter from high school, so you can be right on top of him and not make the tackle.
Huh.
So it is a nice skill that he brings to the Alabama offense.
Hey, I'm curious, having said that, what do you think of Jake Fromm and all this, the quarterback for Georgia, and how he's played thus far? I thought he had a monster game against Oklahoma.
I think he's terrific. I really like him. Tall. I like his delivery is high. I always like that in the quarterbacks. And I think he has a lot of poise. If you watch him enough, he makes all the throws, especially to the sideline. That's the most difficult one, where the NFL scouts are drooling after they're watching him consistently hit his receivers on the edge to the outside. But I like him quite a bit. 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 63%. So, I mean, he could be a Heisman Trophy candidate if they let him loose a little bit.
Yeah, he could be. I was quite impressed with the one drive where he marched the Bulldogs down to take the lead, and and he had every opportunity to throw a pass that was maybe too high because maybe he was excited, or even intercepted.
Right.
but he showed to me a Joe Montana-like poise that was way beyond his years. I feel like go ahead.
Go ahead, Dan.
Good. I was just gonna say I feel like I watched him grow up last night. You were gonna say something.
Yeah, no, I liked him from day one when I watched him, and I think he has good eyes. And in most sports, if you have good eyes and good feet, you're going to be successful. Because in football, you know, your advantage as a quarterback is to be able to see the entire field and all the options that are available, so the defense cannot cover everyone. So I'm really impressed with Jake Fromm.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to score. You know something else. You're going to be there. You're going to be in the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I have to hesitate, I say, because there's the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, and now there's the Mercedes-Benz Dome. Mercedes-Benz is getting its name all over the place. But is this your first time in the stadium?
It'll be my second, because Alabama played their first game there.
Oh, that's right.
It's a neutral site game against Florida State. Could have been 3 times if they made the SEC championship.
Yeah, that's true. It could have been 3 times. Hey, so what do you think about the new stadium?
Yeah, very nice stadium. It's right next door to the old site where, you know, they demolished that. Oh, I just maybe a month or so ago. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. But you know, after a while, then you've been so many stadiums that
it started looking the same.
Yeah, we know what matters the most is the sight line and the food.
Mm-hmm. Now, having said that, I have to ask you this. This is, for all practical purposes, a home game for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Right.
Can you actually see Alabama prevailing in that wild and crazy environment? I mean, you know what? The only thing that Alabama should be fortunate is not the case for that game is that marijuana is legal in the state. If marijuana were legal in that state, boy, that place would be jacked up and high. I mean, of course, I don't think it would be legal to bring it in there anyway, but I'm just saying, right? That place is going to be a madhouse.
I know it. Then, you know, the 2 teams actually met in the Mark Richt era, and Georgia completed a pass around the 5 or 6 yard line, and they ran out of time.
I remember that.
Might have beaten Alabama.
I remember that.
The year that Alabama beat Notre Dame, I think that game. I think that was the 2012 season, and they had 2 running backs coming at Alabama, and they made some noise. They went ahead, and maybe they were ahead by 10 points. That's all, and Alabama came back, and then Georgia made a comeback, and they really mismanaged the time at the end, and could have had one more play and beat Alabama. So
yeah, they got down to like the 12, right?
U.S. if they can succeed in that environment, they have different coach now, but Alabama is used to high-pressure situations. I mean, you may not understand it as a freshman, but about halfway through the season, you're aware that everybody takes their best shot at Alabama.
Wow. Hey, how about defensively for Alabama? Who do you look for to be the star?
They really need those set of linebackers that return. There were 3 veteran linebackers. Christian Miller, David Corey Miller played for the New York Giants, played at University of South Carolina. That's Minnesota Vikings. He returned. They all gave it insignificant numbers. And also Terrell Lewis came back into Auburn game, and so did Mac Wilson. Now, Mac, I'm not sure his stats right now. We got to check his injury. I was on the road today. I didn't have a chance to find out about those things. But so they lost. Dylan Moses was a hotshot freshman who replaced, you know, Mac Wilson in the middle, but he got injured and was out and in practice. So then the 3 veterans returned, and they have more time to get healthy. They did quite well last night. They all made plays.
Wow.
So I think those linebackers, you know, when you have the defensive line, they can monopolize the offensive linemen, and the linebackers better have their tackling shoes on against Georgia.
Hey, so let's shift gears a little bit and go back and forth, but now I want to talk about the subject that's on the minds of a lot of Raider fans. And it's Jon Gruden, who it looks like is going to be the next coach of the Raiders.
Right.
You've interviewed Jon Gruden. What do you think of Jon Gruden overall?
Yeah, he's a charismatic personality. I think he might probably wear on you over time, but certainly you could have him in there the 3 to 4 range and get things done and get your program moving in the right direction, and maybe you reach that championship, and then you all kind of ease. You know, he can kind of ease out of that position. But he's a smart football coach. He has the language that he uses to get people, get their attention. And the reason I interviewed him was because Alabama was playing in the first championship, I believe, in Pasadena, one of the BCS championships against Texas. And so we discussed Julio and how he loved to have him on the team because he's such a great blocker besides being a tremendous receiver. So that was my experience. We had some other things he said to me off the record, and I just enjoyed speaking to him.
He's very personable. I met Jon Gruden to answer the question of Bobby. I think Bobby's gone or whatever. I met Jon Gruden, and some of your regulars will remember my telling this story. I'll tell a short version of it. I met him in 1998, courtesy of Oakland Raiders CEO Amy Trask, who had a season ticket holders function, and I was invited representing the mayor's office because I was economic advisor to Ellie Harris, the mayor of Oakland, and my buddy Charlie Santana Jr. really connected us. So there was me, Charlie Santana Jr., a longtime Raider fan, car salesman who gets cars for the players and that sort of thing. And I said to Jon I had a play for him where I discussed what it was. And he said to me, hey, call the office, get on my schedule, and we'll go to the whiteboard. And APN never took him up on it. Fool me.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, how stupid was that of me not to do that, right? Just
well, Denny, I don't want to say that, but you already did. But
thank you.
That's something I would have done. I probably would have done it the next day.
Yeah, absolutely. I should have done it the next day. Now, fast forward to 2004. I am at the Lee Steinberg Super Bowl party in Houston at that museum downtown. And I see Gruden. In fact, Bruce Allen, who had just made the jump to the Redskins at that time, came over and he pointed to me talking to Jon, and he points to me and says, this guy will make an excellent GM, which I thought was a great compliment. You know, I appreciate that. He probably regrets it now. But anyway, I reminded Jon of this play that I had. And he goes, well, don't just stand there for it. Get the blanking napkin. You know how he talks.
Right, yes.
So I got the napkin. I drew it up, and he loved it. We had a great, chalk talk right there. And then I saw him again when he had made the jump to ESPN. He was doing the NFL draft, right, in New York. And I saw him, this is 2014, first year, 2013, excuse me. And I said, hey, Jon, it's Zenny. What happened was before I said that, I told one of the security guards, I said, would you give Jon Gruden, that man, this paper? And he handed it to him, and it was the same play that I drew up 9 years before. And I said, hey, Jon, it's Zenny. He starts cracking up, right? So that's my Jon Gruden story, But
oh my God, that's a great story.
Hey, I just wonder though, has the game passed him by? Here's why I asked that, and I know some people hate that I asked the question, but look, I think it's my responsibility to bring a little sanity to this discussion because everyone's like, oh, Jon Gruden, you're gonna have a heart attack, right?
Right.
It's my responsibility to bring some sanity to all this, and so. My point is that has the game passed him by? Do you think? Because the game to me is it's more complicated now to a point where you have high school offenses that are more advanced than some NFL offenses.
Yeah, I don't think so because he stayed involved with being on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Interviewing the quarterback, going over plays. And you recall that Dick Vermeil was out for 14 years.
Yep.
And he came back and won a Super Bowl, almost won the second, right?
Yep, he did.
So I don't think Jon Gruden's the type that he's been studying things at his house. I mean, I just believe that he'll be fine. That won't be the reason to determine his success.
What do you think it will be?
His success is going to be in, like most teams, you draft the proper players and fill in the pieces of the puzzle. Bill Belichick seems to take players that, no one else would even fathom could play a certain position, and he makes them very successful. So that's what I believe Jon Gruden. That's where the success lies. The drafting, and then you have to coach those players and develop them as well. Football's a developmental sport.
Right. I have a question in that Gruden has already said he wants John Morton, who I'm not really a fan of, who's the offensive coordinator. I'm not saying personally, just his coaching style and methodology. I'm not talking personally, okay? But I'm not a fan of what he did at the Jets. I like what Harold Goodwin did with Carson Palmer over the years of the Arizona Cardinals, all right? But my point is, Gruden names two white guys, a white defensive coordinator, Paul Gunther, and then a white offensive coordinator in Morton. And my point is, why do we have a concern about diversity and people? What's happened to me is that it seems like the whole diversity concern has been distilled to say, we're going to have you just because you're black, not because you're the best. And you know how I found out about Harold Goodwin? I was watching the Cardinals one preseason, right? And I usually don't watch the Cardinals much. And I was really impressed with the time passing game. And I thought, wait a minute, who designed this? And it was him.
Wow.
And I was just like, whoa, how come? And AP, my thought was this: how come I'm not hearing about this guy? How come no one's talking about Harold Goodwin, right? I hear about, I heard about Jake Gruden as offensive coordinator. Why? Because when the Bengals telecasts were on, they were talking about him, all right? But what's going on where we just sort of have we forgotten diversity? I mean, this is your platform. You can tell me if you think I'm off a rocker. We can argue. You're my buddy. I'm still gonna buy you dinner, but I'm just. But what do you think, man?
I think, Zenny, in this day and age, you can never let the subject matter just lie. It always has to be promoted. It's almost like shaving. If you don't shave every day, they say you look like a bum. So I think that you need to have that promotion in a timely manner, and you can't get too far down the line. So you must mention your product, the individual, or whatever you're trying to let the people know about, so it'll be on the tips of their tongue at all times.
Is it that the Rooney Rule, are we not, or is it the media that's ignoring the Rooney Rule?
You can make phone calls to people and get things on the burner, and get things on the forefront. I mean, that has to be done. I mean, you can't just abandon the cause.
Right.
Say, well, we come this far that they'll carry the torch. No, you have to carry the torch, unless you pass it to someone else with the same fervor.
One of my viewers is asking me, Go CSU says, can you explain the Rooney Rule? I sure can, Go CSU. It works like this. You, in considering a head coach for the NFL, are required to interview at least one minority candidate. Black, white, Asian, Latino, woman. I think about that with women. I don't know a woman that's ready to be head coach, but I do know that Dr. Jen Welter, I don't know if you had a chance to meet her or not, but she was linebacker coach, and I think she's just sort of sitting out there. I guess my thought is my thought is that I agree with you. You have to keep the fire burning what disappoints me, AP, is that some Raider fans, actually a fair number of them, are afraid to attack authority. Okay, they're afraid to point to society and say, "Hey, this needs to change." And so if I point out that Jon Gruden was just basically mentioning his friends as opposed to the talented person that, represents a staff that's also diverse, they get upset.
Right.
Well, they'll say, "Oh, he can name who he wants to name," or which I don't get that. I mean, do you get that, or is it are they just being fans, or what? Am I missing something?
I would say this, in the past, and I've spoken about different head coach openings in college, and what I've said was if you hired a young coach who's never been at the top head coach, you mutually agree upon the assistant. Well, I feel the same way if you're hiring a head coach in the NFL. If you want to make sure that you have diversity on your staff, it has to be mutually agreed upon the candidate. I say that's a working relationship that you can have between the general manager, the coach, and the ownership.
Right. I think that's well said, because I guess in this case the buck would stop with Reggie McKenzie because he's still with the team, and
Right. Then why would you, in this is any situation, why would I force somebody to hire an individual and that they're not compatible?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not being fair to the organization, and to all the individuals in the organization, because an organization is the individuals.
Yeah. Hey, that's interesting. You said that because Amy Trask put out a tweet 3 days ago that said about the opposite. She said that in her mind, and I'm paraphrasing the tweet, a head coach and a general manager should get along, and they should never. They should never. Her point was that she would make them get along. And the reason why I say that is because Reggie McKenzie, when I put this to Reggie McKenzie after I had got after him on a video, and I was very blunt about it. I said, "Hey, I made a video saying that you should be fired for how you treated Hugh Jackson." Okay, and because I'm not phony. All right, I had the guy face to face. I didn't want to be in a situation where, I'm having a great conversation with him. He thinks we're friends, and he sees what I said. He thinks, oh, he's being two-faced. No, so I brought it out there, and I say, look, it wasn't personal against you. I just feel that when you have a black GM and a black head coach, they should make every effort to work together. And what he said to me was very basic. He said, yeah, Zinni, but you have to like the person you're working with.
I understand, and that I don't think that's necessarily true, Zinni. I mean, it would be nice,
mm-hmm.
But I don't think in many situations in the workplace you're there to make friends.
Ken Haas says he's a question for both of us. He says, can you explain to me how Hugh Jackson still has a job? He's got to win 33 games in a row to get over 500. What do you think about that, AP?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, professional sports is a winning business, one-loss business. I mean, that's the balance sheet. You better have more on the W than you do the L, or you better be moving towards more in the W column than the L.
And so, how do we explain Hugh?
Well, Marvin Lewis has been with Cincinnati a number of years, and you're thinking, and I always think this about coaches like, let's say, Mark Richt at Georgia, let's say, for instance. He was there a number of years. He gave it his best. He didn't get a championship. He's in a state like Georgia where every Power 5 conference is trying to recruit, that state.
Yep.
And so why don't you have X amount of championships? Why aren't you playing for the championship? Maybe you didn't win it. I mean, everybody understands that if you're in a championship game, it's close. It's tight. A play here, somebody falls down, somebody drops a punt, somebody mismanages the clock. But why are you not competing for the championships? But he was there, Mark Richt, I think 15 years. I think it was something like that. And when he was let go, people were mad. Oh, he had X amount of 10-win seasons. Well, that's great. You can hire a jillion coaches to have 100 to have 10 wins at Georgia.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that. I remember I was shocked that they let go of Mark Rich, and this gets to Jon Gruden, it's a calculated risk because, like, I'm watching the comments here, and the people are making assumptions about how Gruden will do, and I'm thinking they might as well admit that they actually believe in Jesus Christ, right? It never ceases to amaze me, AP, the eternal optimism of the fan when the head coach is new and the record is 0-0. You know what I mean?
Yes. That's the nature of the fan. I mean, that's with certain teams, then they're resigned to the fact that I didn't care if they hired Vince Lombardi.
Yeah.
We're not going to win.
Yeah. Like the Browns.
like the Browns, right? They have that streak. I mean, I remember when Ray Perkins was hired by the New York Giants. They had not been to a playoff in, I think, 18 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
He got into the playoffs after X amount of number of years, then he went to Alabama. But it was so difficult for him to come in there. Coach, I remember the broadcaster asking him, "Can you win with Phil Simms?" Because Phil Simms was out of Morehead State. I mean, who knew about Morehead State and Phil Simms?
Who knew? Right.
In 1979.
All right. Oh, by the way, Dorian says, I believe in Jesus Christ. Dorian, I do too, and that's the point. I believe in Jesus Christ more than I believe in a person other than my mom. But my point is, and this gets back to why, and I think Donald Richardson, one of my chat members here, put it very well in that, and I said this before and I'll say it again, Hugh Jackson had one thing in common with both Oakland and in Cleveland. He had two general managers that he didn't get along with. Ironically enough, both black, and I think that there's a psychological thing there that I think can be explored another time. But the bottom line is now, presumably, Hugh Jackson has a general manager he can work with. So I don't think it was just that, because I felt that Hugh Jackson's scheme, considering how much football he knows, was wanting. So he's really gotten a blessing in being able to maintain his job. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, how he's done that, I'm not really sure. But going back to your point about, well, he didn't get along with the general manager, well, you have to get along somehow. Because you're both trying to pick players to improve the prospects of the team. Yep. So hash it out. Come up with some compromise.
Got to. You definitely have to. Hey, so out of respect for your time, we'll go for another 10 minutes, but I want to close out talking, once again, national championship. So how do you prepare for a game? Because this is a big game. What's your ritual? Do you have one as a beat writer?
Yes, I do. I like to first off study the stats. I'm trying to find out who's the primary receiver, who's somebody who maybe had a big game. Look at the running backs, wide receivers. I want to see if they throw to the tight end. I want to see if the quarterback's very accurate. I want to see if he had a lot of turnovers. I want to see if the defense had a lot of tackles for loss. I want to see how many sacks. I want to see if the kicker has made something past 45 yards. I want to see the consistency below 45 yards. I want to see if the punter has dropped it inside the 20-yard line. I want to talk to somebody about the coach. I'll call some of the beat writers for the other team in the big games and just get a feel for that coach. Does he let it loose in a big game? Does he get tight? What are his personal attributes? And I always want to focus in on the quarterback, and he's the person that has the ball and the one that can beat you most of the time. And then, you look to see if they have any edge rushers that people can't block. Those are some of the things that I'll ask and find out. But, the offensive line, have they given up sacks? That's important. Do I think Alabama, let's say, can come up with some sacks in the game. And, and then I like to look at statistically what are the top teams they played against in the rushing category, in the passing category, and then to see did they rush for more yards against that team. Let's say they had a good rush defense, and they'll say the top 50 or top 25. Did they rush for more yards in the game, or did that top defense stop them? Did they go for more yards in that game against the top defense, or stop them, and vice versa?
So, do you have a chart, or you just sort of put that, or do you have a notepad?
I make notes on it and I have it available so I can check back.
Kind of like seeing what they're doing or what they did versus what they're doing during the game.
Right. Yeah. I like to check out. I mean, I throw away 50 to nothing against the 125th team in the country. I mean, you throw those things away. I don't count those. What's their average point scoring against the top team? Let's say. Did one team, did they go beyond their normal average against the top team or less? Did they hold teams that were averaging 40 down to 20, or did the team score plus their average? Their average plus a few points, let's say. I just like to look at the numbers a little bit just to get a sense of the team.
Hey, are there people, I'm sure there are, but I'm curious, are there people that you've gotten to see so many times who are part of the press that they're like brothers and sisters to you? And if so, who are they? I mean, who do you expect to see at the national championship game?
Yeah, I mean, let me see. I'm trying to think. I mean, just Hoops Weiss. Hoops, we always talk some basketball too. We always have a discussion about the games. One person I'm interested to see, Tony Barnhart. He's a Georgia guy, and they call him Mr. College Football, so he's known about that program forever.
Oh, his name's Tony what? Tony what?
Barnhart.
Tony Barnhart. Mr. Georgia, okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. College Football.
Mr. College Football.
Handle, I believe, on his Twitter account, yeah. So he's been around that program forever. Let me see, I'm trying to think. The guy that I always try to speak with is Malcolm Moran, Malcolm with the New York Times, USA Today. He brings some students to the game every year. We always have a conversation.
Oh, nice.
We always talk to Malcolm. And I'm just trying to remember some other people, national people. Might talk to Ralph Russo from the Associated Press, because he gets to look at a lot of teams. And, vice versa, he might ask me something about Alabama, or if he's looking for something specific, I'll point him in a direction.
This is exciting stuff, man. Where are you going to eat before the game in Atlanta? I can make it.
I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, you got to make recommendations, and you got to send me some.
I will. You got it. I'll tell you right now,
definitely.
Two places, Max Lager on Peachtree, and then just 4 blocks up, it's called Wood Oak, and owned by my friend Alan LeBlanc. Both on Peachtree. In fact, his restaurant is right across the street from the Hyatt Regency Atlanta. And then he owned Max Lager, which is this brew pub that's just down the street. So those are 2 right off the bat right there.
Oh yeah, I will. I'll make sure you text those, Tim. But I'll definitely try to check those out. And Zenny, are you going to be in Atlanta at all?
I will be. I will be in Las Vegas for my 9th straight year of coverage of the Consumer Electronics Show, CES 2018.
Oh my gosh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I'm very excited, and I'm going to make a special pilgrimage over to the Raiders Stadium site and do some other things during that week. But yeah, I'm quite excited. I've got a lineup of a number of interviews with startup tech entrepreneurs. I've got I'm going to Panasonic press conference, Sony press conference, the majors basically, okay, and Samsung as well. So I'm excited to see for CES. I'm excited to go and cover CES for the 9th straight year from Sunday, this coming Sunday, to Saturday. So yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic. I look forward to hearing about it.
Yeah. My one of my viewers asked, did I buy a Powerball ticket? The answer is I bought Mega Millions. I forgot about it. I bought the ticket and I forgot about it.
That's funny. That's funny. Wow.
Well, AP, it's been fun, man. I know you got bedtime to go to, and it's been a lot of fun. Always fun talking with you. We'll talk again after the national championship game.
Thanks, Danny. It's always my pleasure. I really have enjoyed it. And Happy New Year to all your listeners, and Happy New Year to you and your family.
You got it. Happy New Year to you, too. And I'll call you later offline, but we'll talk. I'll bring you back on the show to talk the aftermath of the real SEC championship. You got to admit, this is the real SEC championship, right? I mean, wait. Before you go, I got to get this out of the way. Okay. This effectively blunts the SEC championship, doesn't it?
Say that again, Zenny. It affects
the national championship game effectively blunts the SEC championship game. In other words, I mean, I know.
Well, in the record books, Zenny, I mean, Georgia is the SEC champion, and Alabama could be the national championship, which is a strange thing, right?
Yeah. So riddle me this. Okay, so basically, let's say that Georgia's the SEC champion. So if Alabama beats Georgia, then Alabama's going to turn around and say, we're the real champion, right? Because we're the national champion, right?
Well, not really. I mean, it was played, and Georgia won it just like basketball. I mean, if Kentucky does not win the SEC championship and wins the national championship, they don't reverse the name at the top of the trophy to say that Kentucky's the SEC champion.
Oh, right. I know that. But you know what they're going to say in terms of bragging rights.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
That's going to be a big mess. It already is.
Yes, that's going to be. But Auburn will claim the national championship because they beat both of them, right?
Right.
So we'll solve that problem, Dave. Auburn will take the title.
You got it. All right, my friend.
Okay, then thank you. Thank you so much.
Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year, Ben. Thank you.
All right, see you. Thank you. Okay, see you. That was my friend AP Steadham. Hey, he's a great guy to hang with, knows a lot of people, a lot of college football history, particularly Alabama, all right? And smooth guy. Just he is the man, down there. So now I'll get to your comments and questions. And thanks for tuning in and sticking around. Black Lion Supreme says, you guys are talking about the Gruden thing. And Donald says, check out Hisense at CES. I have a booth appointment set up with Hisense. So, yeah. Go CSU says, I got that one. And Black Lion says, Gruden is the medicine that the entire radio organization needs, point blank, period. And Anthony Johnson says, yes, I did buy the Mega Millions tickets. Johnny T says, no, they wanted it from the start. I'm going back and trying to catch up with what you guys have been saying. The Barber 74 is here. How are you? Barber writes, if Gruden comes back, it's to keep season ticket holders in Oakland and sell PSLs in Las Vegas, just like Lynch. Hashtag stay in Oakland or stay in Oakland. Hey, before we get too far down the pipe of talking about this, I gotta ask you who the winner is. And I think, John Marks, you're asking me who the winner of the national championship game will be. I said it, and I said it's going to be Georgia. Okay? I didn't want to get AP mad at me. But I think Georgia is in a very unique environment. It's their home state. It's the brand new Mercedes-Benz Dome, which, now that I think about it, Alabama has more tenure playing in that than Georgia does. Georgia hasn't played in there before. Alabama has. Interesting. But that place is going to be jacked up. You know what I mean? Sofa King says, go Dogs. John Wish says, roll damn Tide. Go CSU Rams says Alabama. Don Richards says blah, blah, blah. Black Lion Supreme says Alabama. Donald Richardson says, can you translate blah, blah, blah? Oh, Roll Tide. Got it. So blah, blah, blah means Roll Tide in another language. Black Lion Supreme says Alabama. Sofa King says Michelle or Chubb Rock. Who would you draft? Oh, I would draft Michelle. He's got a breakaway speed that's just rare. I mean, if that hole is there, you can count on him not only getting through it, but getting well into the secondary, juking the defender, and scoring a touchdown. So I like Michelle. I like Michelle. Nothing against Chubb. Chubb's a great power runner, okay? But Michelle just has that something extra. And so Joseph Benson says, I will be rooting for Georgia, but I'm worried Alabama is primed to reclaim the throne. Alabama is definitely a better opponent. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. I was about to say Alabama's a better opponent than Oklahoma for Georgia. But no, because Georgia was 17 down against Oklahoma. Let's not forget that. Ken Haas says Alabama. John Mark says, is Gruden really against the Vegas move? Well, he is, but, we'll see what happens with that. Don Richard says, Michelle is a juggernaut with speed. Thank you. 831 Scott says, that Alabama defense looks strong against Clemson. I have to go with Alabama. Barry Lee says, John, when can we expect the lawsuit? Yeah. As far as the Alabama defense versus Georgia, if Georgia tries to base its approach on a short passing game, I think it's a losing proposition. I believe they really have to stretch the Alabama defense with the pass, quite literally go old-fashioned and use the run to set up the pass, but the run also has to include some exotic bootlegs by the quarterback because Alabama is just too quick to run that standard crossbuck that's so popular in college football and the NFL now and expect it to be effective. I hate the crossbuck. What's the crossbuck? The crossbuck is this. This is the crossbuck. This is where you have the running back here, okay? In this instance, this is not exactly it, but basically the running back here crossbucks. He crosses the line of scrimmage. He crosses. The defense really flows with that running back and stops them. I don't like that. Better off running a sweep. But I didn't draw this for this. I didn't draw this play for what I just explained. It would just happen to be conveniently sitting there. I drew it for another purpose. But I'm not in favor of that crossbuck action. I just am not. So, all right. So, Don Richard says, coin flip happening already for the 9th and 10 pick. Oh, you're asking me if it happened? Let's find out. Let's see. If it had of, see, coin flip, 49ers and Raiders. Coin flip 49ers and Raiders. Let's see here. Coin toss. They'll flip for it. There's no indication that it has happened yet. Otherwise, we would have seen a news report. I haven't seen it. But I'll find out for you when that's supposed to happen. It says coin toss. In fact, you know what? Let me see if NFL has something in the in our media website that will tell us. I'll find out in a second. Bear with me, please, okay? I'm logging in to my site, to my NFL account, so I can see what's going on here. Wild Card Weekend. Super Bowl is upon us, by the way. Let's see here. NFL transactions. Wild Card Weekend. Not even seeing this. Cleveland Browns this might be it. Cleveland Browns hold first pick in 2018 NFL Draft. Hold on a second. Let's see here. Okay. Tentative order of this Super Bowl. Since Oakland and San Francisco have the same strength of schedule, and neither the divisional nor the conference tiebreaker applies, the tie for the 9th and 10th positions will be determined by a coin flip. But it does not say here, even in this press release, when that coin flip will occur. So I'll find out, okay? I'll find out, and I'll have the answer by tomorrow. Speaking of all things NFL, I want to show you something that I think is rather, I think is rather interesting, okay? And that is this. Hold on a second. Where is it? National Football League. You'll find, I can only play part of this, but where is it? Oh, let's see here. There it is, all right? You got to see this. It's on behalf of the National Football League. We would like to, this is what it is. Ta-da! Okay. Isn't that cool? Woohoo! Super Bowl! Super Bowl! Super Bowl! Woo! Woo! Look at this. No, wait a minute. Oh. Oh, come on. Ah, man. That's not what I meant to show. It's here. Hold on a second. Try that one. Try it again. It's a little slow to play. Let me just leave it alone. Weekend preview starting tomorrow, and you have January 6th and January 7th, all right? And yeah, that was from the National Football League, and that was regarding Super Bowl access. And so, hey, stay tuned, because you just never know what I'll decide to do at this point. I'm trying to work out some arrangements here and there, but the NFL always keeps me in its thoughts, and for that I'm eternally grateful. I really am. Get back to your comments and everything else. So let's see here. Court injunction news. John Marks, you have some news for us? Big April says, Zinni, will Jon Gruden pull an Al Davis and treat Mark Davis like Wayne Valley and take the team if he gets ownership? God, I can't see that at all. I think Mark is, for one thing, the difference is that Mark inherited the team, its family, and I don't know my inheritance legal issues, but I believe it would be harder in that instance. He would have to, in some kind of way, I need to research that, but Mark Davis would have to basically give up ownership to him for that to happen. I don't want to say no. Let me do some research first on if there's any possible similarity between what happened with Wayne Valley and Al Davis. So I think one person, I think it was a case of a person forgetting or not handling their paperwork correctly in that instance. I'll check. But I am very sure that can't happen in Mark Davis' case. So I don't even want to give that life, but I will research it to see if that remote possibility is just that, okay? Big Eightful. All right. So Jimmy T says it's being reported that Gruden will accept the job after the playoffs game this weekend. Yeah, I heard that. Apparently, after let me. There's I'm at the internet here. I don't have to guess, right? Let me see here. Just gonna go to Jon Gruden and see what the latest posted news is, right? Gruden, that was 9 hours ago. Gruden and the Raiders and the Rooney Rule. What happens when this is good. I'm glad Sports Illustrated is picking this up because I was kind of feeling a little alone out there for a while. All right. And this is by Peter King. I'm glad he's raising it. It says Gruden, the Raiders, and the Rooney Rule. What happens when a team seems locked in on a candidate? And good for Peter King to pick this up, okay? And this is by Connor Orr. And Connor writes, the Raiders' pursuit of Jon Gruden began in earnest about 2 years ago, a passion project of owner-out Mark Davis that to some defied logic. Kind of like the whole Las Vegas deal, right? Okay? But I'm just saying, all right? Anyway. And then he says, Gruden's place in the football, blah, blah, blah. It's no surprise that during this frenzied hunt for Bigfoot, which is what this Sports Illustrated guy is calling Jon Gruden, Davis seems to have undermined the spirit of the NFL's Rooney Rule, which requires teams to interview a minority candidate for all general manager and head coaching vacancies. And I have to say this, okay? Yeah, after the playoffs, but they're supposed to be going through their interviews this week, but I can't imagine they're interviewing anybody. Who would want to be interviewed knowing they're not going to get the job? Oh yeah, interview me, I'm black. You're not going to give me the job, but interview me anyway. All right? So, anyway, it says, ethically, the Raiders are typically progressive, are in a pickle. They could schedule an interview with a minority candidate and face the inevitable blowback of it being a sham, just like I said. Or they could pay a fine for flouting the Rooney Rule, as the Lions did, to the tune of $200,000 for not adhering to it. That was in 2003. In an effort to sort out the situation, the Monday Morning Quarterback asked Tony Dungy, longtime NFL head coach, and Jon Gruden, head of the Fritz Pollard Alliance, for their thoughts on the central nagging question, should the Raiders be up front and simply pay the fine instead of conducting a hollow interview to satisfy the rule, or would that just set a dangerous precedent for NFL teams that are scrambling to hire their top head coaching candidate in a tight window? And Dungy basically says, to me, if you're determined, you made up your mind 3 months in advance, 6 weeks, that you're going to hire a certain person, I would rather you go ahead and interview and not violate the spirit of the rule. If you're interviewing without an open mind and heart, it doesn't make a difference anyway. And he added, I would rather everything be above board. If you're going to hire Jon Gruden, you made up your mind, and if everything is signed, sealed, and delivered, then you know you should just move forward. And that's what Junji says. And so, they go on with this one. And then Wooten says that, that Wooten, who chairs the alliance that develops minority candidates for head coaching or general manager jobs, is hoping that the Gruden rumors are just that. And he says, we've been informed that Gruden is a done deal. Those are just rumors. I know that Reggie McKenzie is very much alerted to the situation, so we just have to let them do what the rule requires. It could very well be that they already interviewed a minority long before this. I'll have to wait and see what happens there myself, all right? And so he said he was satisfied that the Browns had hired general manager John Dorsey less than 24 hours after firing Sashi Brown. And he says overall that he thinks the NFL has done a good job, okay? So that was it. That's a short take on it. Now, as far as Gruden being announced after the playoffs, that means Monday. Or, that means Monday. So, Jimmy T says the Rooney Rule is dumb. Do you think teams hire minority candidates just because of the rule? No. Teams already know who they want to hire before they start interviewing. It's all about winning and nothing else. Jimmy T, that's not true. Because, first of all, I'm going to say straight out, that take is racist. And here's why. Because your assumption is that if someone hires a person who's white, they automatically want to win. But if they hire someone who's black, it's to fulfill the space. And that kind of ignorance has to be erased, all right? Look at Jack Del Rio, all right? If we go backward to the Jack Del Rio example, then, and we say, hey, Rooney Rule, who'd you talk to? And that did come up. They barely talked to, the Raiders technically have done this twice. They barely talked to Pep Hamilton. They said that they talked to the current Jets head coach, but it turned out they really only had a phone conversation with him. And they sat down Del Rio, and look what we got. We got what? 7-9, 12-4, and 6-10, and then Davis got dissatisfied, and look at what he did with him 6 months after hiring him or signing him to a new contract. All right. So, how many times do you have to go through this to realize that just because a person's white doesn't guarantee you a Super Bowl? And yet, here we go again. Oh, it's Jon Gruden. He's going to give us a Super Bowl. Well, riddle me this. What are you going to do if that Super Bowl doesn't come with Gruden? Okay? What are you going to do if that happens? All right? Are you going to be ready to say off with his head? You see, there's too much. That's why I asked who believes in God. Because a lot of you place godlike power into someone that hasn't been hired. Oh, that person will get us a Super Bowl. Why? You say because they did it before? Not with the Raiders, and it was another time. They're going to bring back Rich Gannon as the quarterback coach? Why? Does Rich Gannon know how to call the proper offensive play to attack a Rip Liz coverage? My guess is no, because Rich Gannon doesn't even know how to recognize a Rip Liz coverage from the booth, and I've seen him. Okay? So if he can't recognize it up there, how the heck is he going to recognize it coaching? And you want him to be the quarterback coach? Why? Well, he was a Raider. Seriously? Seriously? Okay? Do any one of you know what a Rip Liz coverage is? It's where the strong safety comes down. You have two linebackers. The second linebacker over here generally covers the hook area, okay? And you can send the strong safety over here. Rip Liz, all right? There are different variations of Rip Liz. It's always done with a two inside linebacker, 3-4 defense, okay? Who created it? Nick Saban. This is football strategy. And what I'm talking about, and lost in the discussion here, is this question. Who freaking knows the techniques of the game? Now, do I trust Gruden to know them? Yeah, I do. Because he's had that fired football coaches association with the discussions and the chalkboard. He has the clinics and everything else. So, yeah, he has kept abreast of the game. But when he starts talking about who he's going to hire, then I ask this question. Hey, can you install a variation of the West Coast offense without the long verbiage? Now, what do I mean by the long verbiage? I mean like Brown double X left, halfback zoom, or halfback go, X corner. Okay, that's a lot of verbiage to some people. I'm used to that. That's West Coast offense verbiage. And I just came up with that. What did I just say? I said Brown. What is Brown? Brown is where you have the halfback behind the quarterback and the fullback behind the quarterback and the halfback on the weak side, okay? What is double X? Double tight end. X is the tight end. Which means if I have double X, right, I've got one flanker over here because I've got, I've already called it. I've got Brown. I got two running backs, okay? But then I said halfback go motion. Go is the motion toward the strong side. That means if I have the flanker over here, right, the halfback is go over here, okay? So I've already called that out. And then I say X corner over here. X corner. X is running the corner. I'm having the Y run the post, okay? And I'm having the flank, I'm having the halfback just run the flat here. 1, 2, 3. Got it? You get a blitz here, you hit the halfback. You see that? That's West, that is Bill Walsh offense thinking. Now, let me explain something to you. If I'm running a no huddle system, I can't use that verbiage. I have to distill it into one word or 3 letters, like 2, 4, 5, X, right? 2 being the formation, 4 being the route combination, and X being the main receiver. I'm just giving you an example. I'm just coming off with this. But the reason why I'm explaining it to you this way is to get you to understand the complexities of the modern game that Gruden doesn't have to deal with. Why do I point it out that way? Because modern offenses in college have this stuff. And the ultimate offense that has never been implemented is one that is no huddle, okay? No huddle, but with pre-shifts. Think about it. So you're not huddling, but you're going from one play to the other, and instead of sitting in one formation, you're actually shifting from one to the other, and then you're running. That takes a lot. It takes a lot of energy, okay? It's worth doing once in a while, but you've never seen it done. And it takes a certain type of verbiage to make it work. How do you make it work? You make it work like this. You bundle the formations. So you have one formation, which is really 2. And you shift from one to the other. That's built into your system. That kind of approach goes back to the 1968 Dallas Cowboys playbook. You can find it online. Check it out. Check it out. Okay? So my point is, if Gruden's going to come in with some offense where he's just huddling up all the time, I'm sorry, we're already done. Forget it. But if he can come in with a modern offense, that's much like what Oklahoma runs, or Texas, Texas A&M or Texas Tech, but combined with the best elements of the Common Pro set, ding. I'm not saying Gruden will do that because I haven't had a conversation with him to know that's even on his mind. I will tell you something. If you're telling me you're going to bring in Johnny Morton as your offensive coordinator, it is not on your mind. All right? I'm talking about the techniques and the details of winning. I'm not expressing faith in anybody. I'm talking about systems and approaches. And that's what I've said this from day one. If you're going to be a Zenster, talk about that. Don't tell me you have faith in somebody like they're Jesus Christ. We've been through that. You had faith in Del Rio. He didn't get it done. Now you're telling me you have faith in Gruden? Why? Because you saw him talk on Monday Night Football? Hey, I've drawn plays for the man. I know how he thinks. Okay? I know that approach like the back of my hand. So let's talk techniques. And that's why I got so fired up. There are a number of people, my complexion, who know this stuff. But the only way you find out is to find them. Sometimes they're staring at you right in the doggone face. I'll tell you one thing. I don't care if it's Gruden. I don't care if it's Del Rio. You give me their third string offense, I will beat their first string defense. I will coach. I'm not going to be the quarterback. I will coach them, and I will design the plays to make that happen. I am that confident that my approach is better than theirs. Okay? And I'm not the only guy out there who has that confidence of mine who happens to be this skin color either. So my point is this. You want to win. You're really talking about winning? Don't talk to me about people. Talk to me about approaches and techniques. But you have to know something about the game to know what you're looking at. A lot of you watch the game, you have no idea what you're looking at. Okay? All right. So, oh, that feels good. All right. Now that I've sufficiently pissed off everybody, hi. Jimmy T says Hugh Jackson should have been fired. Now, Jimmy T, I agree with you, but he wasn't, all right? Now, the whole point is that, but I disagree with you about the whole any team thing, okay? Hugh Jackson got a massive pass because he had a GM he didn't get along with. Hugh Jackson got a massive pass. He could have done a lot better, 1,000%. But to hold him up as the example, it's kind of like, oh, dude, no, all right. Black line, because there's not a lot of us, all right. And we still have this slave picture, where the same picture that created the whole controversy of Bob McNair, that's still there. So you're gonna tell me that's okay? Ah, jeez. The Black Lion Supreme says, no way. We've seen the man coach and win ball games with no nonsense attitude. That's why we want him back. Yeah, but when did the last time you saw him do it, Black Lion? Okay. And my other question is this: when you say saw coach and win ball games, why? I'm gonna tell you something else too. I've seen him coach and lose ball games and get on the nerves of people. Okay, so what happens when things go south? I have seen him coach, lose ball games, and then next thing you know, he's getting a shouting match on the sidelines with Keyshawn Johnson. Okay, because he's got to prove that he's like the bigger dude. Oh, I'm the dude, right? Jon could do that. Has he grown up enough to where that's out of his system? So I've seen the other side of him. You talk about what you've seen. I've seen the other side. I saw the side that got him fired and replaced with Raheem Moore at the Bucks. My memory is not short. Your memory may be. Mine isn't. Okay? I remember every freaking thing, man. Everything. So I don't want to hear this like I saw him coach and win ball games and his attitude. His attitude got him into a lot of trouble. And his attitude got him fired. His attitude got him fired. So I don't want to hear it. At all. Bernard says, laugh out loud, I compare the negative feedback on Gruden to when the Warriors were planning to sign Kerr. But then Bernard, again, the difference between Kerr and Gruden is this. And I know it's kind of romanticism, but Kerr brought in an approach that no one had done before. Okay? I'm not a basketball X's and O's expert. I will tell you that. But I know enough to recognize something that's different. And that three-point, happy, quasi Harlem Globetrotter offense that looked goofy at first caught the league by storm. Show me where Gruden is going to do that. Okay? I have more faith in what I just explained to you as an offense, being that system, than what Jon is going to bring in if he brings in the Morton guy. So, all right. So, Rob Ivan says Gruden's second tenure could end up like Joe Gibbs' second go-around in Washington. Or not. I mean, which begs the question? Which Jon Gruden are we going to get? Are we going to get the Jon Gruden that marched the Buccaneers to the Super Bowl? Or are we going to get the Jon Gruden whose voice was just grating on the nerves of players and he lost the locker room? Which one are we going to get? That's the big question. Okay? So, and Kevin KD says, I would rather have Richie Kotite. Jimmy T says, Gruden made a 34-year-old journeyman an MVP. Imagine what he could do with Carr. Well, but then he screwed up later in the years with the Bucks. Okay? So, I will say this. The one person that I really believe Jon Gruden can make a difference with, because this is going to sound really weird, their personalities are very much the same, is Jameis Winston. I was actually hoping that Gruden would go to the Bucks, because Jameis Winston and Jon Gruden, given both of them have incredible football knowledge, and they have almost the same personality, will be a match made in football heaven. Two technical geniuses. Well, I'm not going to call Jameis Winston's a technical genius of the modern day. Jon Gruden is a smart guy. I'm not going to call him a genius. But Jameis Winston is a technical genius. The problem is that he's working with people who are not at his level. And I'm talking about the coaches. Okay? That guy knows football. He can design his own plays. But Gruden and Jameis Winston, it would have been all over. Okay? From a technical standpoint, I can't say anything about the defense. Offense, top 5. Definitely top 5. Because Gruden would have enough confidence in Winston's knowledge to give him the offense and give him the tools to run it. He's not going to have that with Derek Carr because Derek Carr doesn't have that, okay? Derek Carr is the kind of guy where he will do what you tell him to do. But Derek Carr is not the guy that's going to take your offense and maybe have one player run an in pattern rather than a post because of the way the coverage is designed. He's not going to change your play like that. Jameis Winston will do that. Jameis Winston is the closest thing we've got to Peyton Manning. The trouble is, he has coaches that haven't unlocked him yet. Okay. If you want to see a great conversation between quarterback and coach, go on YouTube here and find the video where Jon Gruden is going through the chalk talk with Jameis Winston, and watch that over and over and over again. How many of you here are really football junkies? I mean, you know your strategy. Is anyone here, I mean, just if you're a football junkie, say yeah. I say yeah like you know formations and call them out. Are you a football junkie? I'm waiting for the answers here. Are you? Rob Iman? Okay, Donald Richards, yeah. Kevin KD, are you a football junkie? Yes or no? Rob Iman, football junkie. Jimmy T, football junkie. Benjamin says he's a football junkie. John Marks honestly says no. Cool. Kevin KD says yes. Go CSUM says almost there. I like that. Honest answers. That's great. Marlon says not really. Ken House says not. Ed Reed says yes. Okay, so good. This is good. This is good. Bernard says no. Black Ryan says exactly. Bernard, no. Okay. This is my point, okay? And my point, hey, Donald Rich still coaches the wing T. We got to talk about that one, man. And my point is, it's very important. And look, first of all, I want to say one thing. I don't mean to be insulting, okay? It's just that what I'm trying to do is temper expectations. Because Raider fans have been through a lot. We deserve the right, look, the right lens through which to, evaluate all this stuff, okay? And just say, hey, just like calm down a little bit, and then don't be afraid to ask, okay, you're here, what are you going to do for us? Don't say, you're going to do this because we think you're going to get it done. No. Just say, okay, we've been through this. We've got the scars. We've seen it. What are you going to do for us? Nothing wrong with asking that question. Never be afraid to ask the tough questions in life, ever. Okay? Rob Iman says, you're disappointed that Marvin Lewis was retained? I'm not. Because the Bengals didn't have a vision for their organization without Lewis. Marvin Lewis will bring a Super Bowl to Cincinnati. Count on it, okay? Kevin KD says Carr has Rodgers. And the reason why I express faith in Marvin Lewis is for this reason. He has a good basic organizational structure. They had a turnover in assistants, I thought, that didn't serve him well that I know he's going to correct. Okay? And he's not going anywhere. So they have, we're not talking in Cleveland. They went 7-9. And now he's back to fix the damage. The one thing you can be sure of, the Bengals will definitely break your opponent's face. Oh, my God. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. But Rob Iman, I understand what you're saying. And then I don't. No, I understand it, but I disagree. okay? Because my thought was, okay, who can I see running the Bengals who knows the organization as well as Lewis? And I was thinking about that. I thought, no one. Because here's the problem. And the problem is born of having someone there as long as they've had Marvin Lewis. Everything the next head coach comes in and does is going to be evaluated by what he did. And people, you have to understand that being a head coach is more than X's and O's. It's administrative too, which is the other issue that Jon's got to deal with. How players have changed, front office situations, ways that he may have handled people in the past that he's going to bring into the office that could get him into trouble. Head coach is not the easiest gig in the world. Just saying. So you think Eli's to Denver? I think it's a possibility. Ken Haas says Rob is AFC North. Marlon says, touch on Greg Papa's claim that the coaches ripped Carr in front of the whole team if you haven't already done so. Great takes. Thanks. Oh, thank you, Marlon. I appreciate that. If what Greg Papa says is true, and I have no reason to believe it's not, Greg Papa's a great guy, covered the Raiders for a long time, then that was horrible, and it was bad. And what I want to know is which coaches. Was it Todd Downing? Because if you get specifics, then you understand. You don't tear down your players like that. In fact, that's an issue I have with how Dirk Carter handles Jameis Winston at times. He, rips into the media and everything. I think it's a bad thing. Disagreements you have with your players, you should keep them between yourself, but not make them where you're ripping the player in front of your teammates or the public. Because you can't do that and then expect a teammate to want to play for you again. It doesn't work that way in the modern age. Jimmy T says Gruden would get in those players' faces like Del Rio couldn't manage to. Oh, Jimmy T, see me kind of like Gruden got in the face of Keyshawn Johnson on the sidelines on Monday Night Football and they almost got into a fist fight? You mean that kind of thing? You think that's cool? You think that's cool? You know nothing about building a winning football team. Nothing. Because that was during the time that the Bucs failed. All right? That was Jon Gruden at his worst. Jon Gruden at his best, we saw the first year with the Bucs. Then he got progressively worse. See, no one talks about the fact that, okay, he got them the Super Bowl championship when they got there, but subsequent years, they didn't repeat. They didn't do anything. And then he got fired. Because people got tired of hearing his mouth. So you think, and this is what I'm talking about, Jimmy T, you're putting out an idea that, you're going to get mad at me, is racist. Think about it. First of all, you say, oh, it doesn't matter as long as they hire this guy and it's got nothing to do with the race, but the guy happens to be white, it's okay. Then you say you want to see Gruden get in the face of a player, and I would bet $1,000 that the vision of a player you see him getting in the face of is black. That's racist. Okay? That's straight up racist. So I really